Today I want to take a closer look at the Chinese luxury brand Hongqi. I know that some people will complain that I'm talking about a Chinese car brand again, but as a lover of luxury limousines and phaeton driver myself, I was curious about their latest models, and on my recent China trip I had the chance to check them out and compare them to our European luxury cars. So here we go. Hongqi means red flag, and as the name states, these are usually the luxury cars of state officials, if they are not driving Audi A6. The president's car is traditionally a Hongqi, and in the 1980s they started building Audi 100 C3s in license. Since then they used Audi, Toyota and Ford as the basis of their cars. But now they're experienced enough to build their own cars. I saw them in Goodwood a year ago, and now I wanted to check out their latest model, the Guoya. As a phaeton driver, I wanted to see how good this car is, which wants to compete with Audi A8, BMW 7 Series and Mercedes S-Class. First of all, it's huge. It's 5.35 meters long and has a wheelbase of 3.26 meters. The exterior reminds me pretty much of the Bentley Mulsanne. You get LED head and tail lights, and the shape of the mirrors reminded me pretty much of an Audi A7. But the packaging is very different to Audi. The front overhang is less and the engine sits on the front axle. You can choose between a 3-liter V6 turbo with 380 horsepower and a 4-liter V8 turbo with 480 horsepower. They combine it with an 8-speed automatic gearbox and all-wheel drive. Additionally, they integrated an 160 kilowatt electric motor and fit a lithium-ion battery under the trunk to make this a hybrid car. There are a couple of things I noticed when I looked at the V8 engine. They said it's their own self-developed engine, and I believed them because of the marked pipe connections with a pen and external German VL Tesco bypass valves with DIY hose clamps. That's unusual, but it's no reason for it not to work. It's a hot V configuration, and the rest of the piping and wiring loom looks better than on some European cars. Of course, in China they can still use the in EU forbidden R134A refrigerant, and because it's double the amount of my complex phaeton AC system, I guess that they're using 2 evaporators. The front suspension is a double wishbone design with combined arms at the top and separate arms below. At the rear they use a trapezoidal arm design with rear-wheel steering. The car has air suspension all around and was suspiciously low at some exhibitions, something you wouldn't see at European brands. So the outside looks luxury, the quality feels good, but I had the feeling that the interior cannot quite keep up. It is nice, but to me it feels more like an upper middle class car than a top-notch luxury car. There are small things like exposed seat rails, plastic on the headrest, and a design which is not as extravagant as the exterior. And if you have seen my video about the phaeton trunk, you know what I thought about this one here. It's big, although there is a lithium-ion battery underneath with easy access, but there are black plastic covers around. Usually all these things are fine, but for a super luxury car, we have to talk about it. The seats are good with soft pillows, and they told me that their benchmark is Maybach. Maybach is currently the magic word in China for luxury cars. Everyone wants to be like Maybach. You can order the Guoya in a 4- and 5-seater configuration. The 4-seater also offers tables at the back. Prices in China start at 170,000 euro for the V6 and at 220,000 euro for the V8. For this you get a more than 5-meter-long luxury limousine with hybrid drivetrain, all-wheel drive and top-notch aluminium air suspension. If we go to the Mercedes configurator in Germany and we try to find a comparable car, we find the long wheelbase S580 E4matic. It has similar specs in terms of power and wheelbase, and it starts currently at 130,000 euro in Germany, but it doesn't have the fancy Maybach features. If I take a Maybach, however, with the same drivetrain, prices start at 233,000 euro, but we have to say here that the wheelbase is another 18 centimeters longer. So the Guoya sits somewhere in between, and it shows that Chinese brands cannot just build electric cars, they're also pushing forward in the luxury segment. And these cars are not that cheap. And because I was already there, I could have a look at the president's car, the Goloi. It's a massive 3-ton 1950s retro design for maximum comfort. It has a 4-liter V8 turbo engine, but here in cold V configuration and with only 380 horsepower. For this car, performance is not important, but reliability and comfort. And it has to run everywhere with different fuel qualities. You can actually buy this car, but first of all, no one wants to impersonate the president, and secondly, prices start at 800,000 euro. The Goloi was released in 2024, and I noticed the little heart in the indicator, which goes back to a story of an employee putting hearts on the cars. Now it became part of the design. The interior feels a bit Rolls-Royce Phantom-like, with paintings of Chinese landscape and lots of shiny, high-quality materials. And another car I was interested in was the H9, because Western media reports that this car is based on the long Audi A6 C7, and I can tell you, it's not. It's a different package with smaller overhang, engine sits on the front axle, and we see a different suspension design. The interior has elements of Mercedes and Audi, and I could test drive a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo with rear-wheel drive and a dual-clutch gearbox. Because it has steel springs, it's not as comfortable as an air suspension, but it was nice and quiet with good space at the back. Interesting to see was that if you're driving in a black Hongqi through Beijing, you can go to places other cars can't. We were there a week before the big parade in September 2025, and although some streets were closed for general traffic, the police waved us through in our rented H9. You can get the H9 with a 3-liter V6 turbo and all-wheel drive as well, and it's now also available in Europe for prices from 70,000 euro. So Hongqi is a luxury brand from China which grew with licensed productions of Western cars, but they are now designing their own vehicles and they are pushing forward into the super luxury category. Hongqi cars are not cheap and around the same level as Western cars, especially after importing them. But they offer a different experience and they are learning fast. So that might be a space to watch. So what do you think? Would you be interested in a Hongqi, or would you rather take a Western brand for around the same price? Or maybe they could become interesting on the used car market. Let me know in the comments below and see you at the next video.